This video is brought to you by Captivating History. Before the mighty Roman Republic arose in ancient Italy, a far older and mightier civilization was dwelling there. The ancient Etruscans emerged from the Iron Age cultures that formed in the region, and in time became one of the most influential civilizations in the Mediterranean. Flourishing from roughly the 8th to the 3rd centuries BC, this sprawling culture was at the center of trade on the continent. Sadly, the Etruscan civilization gradually declined in the shadow of its quickly rising neighbor, Rome. In time, it was devastated and fully merged with the Roman Republic, finally ceasing to exist around 27 BC. Nevertheless, this important civilization left lasting traces on the history of the Italian peninsula, and those traces remain to this day. It is widely agreed that the Etruscan civilization emerged from the preceding Iron Age Villanovan culture. This is considered the earliest phase of the Etruscan civilization and is formed over time from the widespread European Bronze Age societies, such as the Urnfield culture. By 700 BC, the Etruscans were fully formed as a unique civilization in the region, and the first writings in their language can be dated to this era. They were becoming increasingly influenced by the ancient Greeks at this time through their coastal colonies across the Italian peninsula. The Etruscans were always a unique identity amongst their neighbors and were well known for their wealth of mineral resources and elaborate luxury items sought after in Europe. They were involved in constant trade with the Celts to their north and the Greeks in the east. Archaeological evidence shows that luxury Etruscan items were highly sought after by the Celts. Through successful exploitation of their mineral resources, the Etruscans emerged at the head of the maritime trade in the region, establishing connections with even the Phoenicians, Egyptians, and the Near East. This flourishing trade helped make the Etruscan noble families rich and powerful and helped culture, literature, and art to reach their golden age in the region. At its greatest extent, the territory on which the Etruscans were established covered roughly the northwestern corner of the boot that is the Italian peninsula. This covers part of the modern-day areas such as Tuscany, the Po River Valley, Campania, southern Veneto and Lombardy, and Emilia-Romagna. Contrary to popular belief, the Etruscans were never a singular state. Instead, they were spread into several powerful and independent city-states which shared religion, language, and identity but lacked unity. The most prominent of these cities were Volce, Care, Tarquinia, Vufluna, Ville, and Volsini. These city-states were likely ruled by the most prominent Etruscan families, many of which survived well into the Roman Republic era. Due to their independent status, these cities would often develop at a different rate from one another. In general, the coastal parts of Etruria were the most successful, gradually spreading new technologies and trends deeper into the heartland Etruscan cities. And it is from these coastal emporia that the Etruscans got in touch with the ancient Greek culture. In time, starting from circa 750s BC, settlers from Greece and the Near East began to exert great influence on the Etruscans. The latter adopted many cultural aspects from them, notably the parts of their religious pantheon, clothing, habits, and writing. Written texts in the Etruscan language appear around 700 BC, in a script heavily influenced by the Greek alphabet. Religion was also modeled after that of ancient Greece. Originally, the Etruscans were a polytheistic society whose deities were based on the sun and the moon and various natural phenomena and the year seasons. The later pantheon was divided into 3 distinct layers. At the bottom were the old indigenous gods, Tiver, god of the moon, Usil of the sun, and Laren with his wife Turan, gods of war and love. The second layer of that pantheon shows deities adopted from the Greeks, such as Minerva, Artemi, and Pasha, or the Etruscan equivalents of Minerva, Artemis, and Bacchus. At the third and most revered layer were the chief deities, the goddess of the earth, Sel, Tinia, god of the sky, and his wife, Uni. The Etruscans placed a big emphasis on the individual power of these gods and believed that all visible natural phenomena were divine manifestations. Throughout their history, the Etruscans were a prosperous and powerful civilization. In many ways, they dominated the maritime realm of the Mediterranean for a while. They are recorded in the Battle of the Sardinian Sea in 540 BC, where they faced the Greek navy as allies of Carthage, defending their valuable trade interests in the region. Numerous ancient Greek sources refer to the Etruscan seafarers as hated foes and pirates, confirming that the naval might of Etruria was unmatched for a time. This might was replaced by the 5th century BC when the Sicilian city-state of Syracuse emerged as the dominant maritime power. Together with the ancient Greek colony of Cumae, the Syracusans devastated the Etruscan navy in 474 BC at a major naval battle. It is clear that from that point on, the Etruscans lost their upper hand on the sea, confirmed by the fact that the Syracusans managed to ravage many of their coastal cities in 384 BC. This event immensely hampered the power of the Etruscan civilization and started a major decline of their cities in the 4th and 3rd centuries BC. This loss of power instigated a major shift on the Italian peninsula. By the 4th century BC, the indigenous Latins of Rome, until then a lesser city under Etruscan political control, began to reaffirm their power and rapidly rise in prominence. However, the Etruscans faced another threat: the repeated invasions from the Celtic tribes to the north. At once, the neighbors of Etruria sought to exploit its sudden decline, and this started 2 centuries of near-constant warfare. From the 4th century BC, a series of Roman-Etruscan wars began, and the Romans gradually began annexing Etruscan cities. For close to 200 years, these conflicts raged on, at times marked by alliances and truces that never lasted long. Rome soon emerged as the dominant force in Italy. In many ways, it grew to surpass the Etruscans, whose time was obviously passing. The Romans boasted great organizational skills, plenty of resources and manpower, and a famed professional army that was highly efficient. And with the emergence of the Roman Republic, they had one key thing that the Etruscans lacked: political unity. Without that unity, the Etruscan cities were quick to fall, one after the other. In the wake of these conquests, the surviving Etruscans were quickly assimilated into the growing Roman culture and identity. Around 280 BC, the chief cities of Tarquinia, Volci, and Orvieto fell to Rome. 7 years later, in 273 BC, Cerveteri fell also, after struggling to endure. In 264 BC, the last free Etruscan city, Volsini, was conquered, bringing an end to the independent Etruscan civilization. The Etruscan language survived amongst the Romans for some 300 years after that point, but was in the end forgotten, along with the other vestiges of a once powerful Mediterranean civilization. The Etruscan identity was not immediately erased after the Roman conquests. Many Roman citizens and powerful families traced their lineage back to the wealthy Etruscan nobles, which became just a hazy memory after many centuries. History is ruthless for those vanquished. Assimilated civilizations are quick to disappear and become forgotten, and it took more than 2,000 years for the remnants of the Etruscan civilization to see the light of day again. By far, the most important glimpses into this culture are given to us via the lavish Etruscan tombs. Often spacious and monumental, these subterranean vaulted tombs show a striking display of perfectly preserved Etruscan art. The walls of these tombs were painted with gaily scenes of love, dancing, hunting, and sport, adorned with numerous bright colors and depicted with surprising detail. These paintings were a major source of information for archaeologists, showing us a distinct Etruscan character. Sadly, this practice was reserved only for the wealthiest Etruscan families, making tomb paintings quite rare. In the end, we can learn plenty of important lessons from the relatively brief history of the Etruscans. They flourished in a time when new and powerful civilizations, such as the Greeks, Carthaginians, Egyptians, and Romans, were rapidly rising in power. The Etruscans could have maintained their position amongst these powers, if only they had political unity. To learn more about the Etruscans, check out our book, The Etruscans, a captivating guide to the Etruscan civilization of ancient Italy that preceded the Roman Republic. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.